we go. Perfect. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Wall Street Rundown. I'm your co-host Billy, and I have Wale with me. What's going on, Wale?
Not much, man. Been a very, very solid trading week playing puts, so I'm happy about that.
Nice,
Almost had a
nice.
loser today, but
You
my
you came
second
back.
my second reentry did help out with my trade, so everything worked.
Bro, that's crazy. This is our 10th episode. I was looking at it right before we got on. I was like, dang, 10th episode on YouTube, man. I don't know how many episodes that on in general since the days we were doing like Instagram and stuff. But yeah, man, we've been consistent, bro. That's some good stuff.
Also, want to say we got to 55 subscribers, so for those that have subscribed
Yes.
and have been listening, we appreciate y'all. So thank you for the support. Trying to
Yep.
grow the platform and continue to give you guys great actionable insight on what's going on in capital markets. So we
Absolutely.
appreciate the
Absolutely.
support.
And we in the time now. I think I posted it on my Instagram. We're in a time right now. You should not be out there like a lone wolf, bro. Come join a group. Come be with some people. Because I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of blind spot right now in the market, and it's good to have a bunch of people trading together. You can kind of grab information from everybody. So join the group, man. We're probably gonna put the link in the bio and in the show notes, so you guys can click on it and join the group. But man, you should not be trading by yourself. Speaking of trading, man, I mean, this week, today we closed a little bit high. You know what I mean? Like we came back. So the government shutdown basically we kind of averted, right? Senator Majority Chuck Schumer came out and said, hey, he will support any bill to extend the government funding and all this stuff. And that might be another reason why the market kind of ran up today, right? But however, all 11 sectors finished the day higher. Even China in Asia, they overnight also the market actually finished higher. Also, they had an announcement today that policymakers in China plan to increase support measure to stimulate consumption, which basically they're probably going to pay some people, the government, the citizens they're gonna get paid so they can go out and shop, right? We call that stimulus. They're just trying to boost the sentiment, right? They're trying to boost the economy and stuff. The European market also closed higher because Germany are making progress on a deal also to increase spending on its infrastructure, defense, and all this different thing. I haven't heard about Germany doing in the news, but these days I've been hearing a lot about them, man.
So let me also give you a little bit of insight. So surprisingly, all of the noise that we're seeing about market declines, if you really pay attention to the global markets, it's all domesticated in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Look up FXI, which is an ETF that tracks Chinese large caps. Go look
Yep.
at the performance this year.
Yep.
I think that ETF is up over 20%.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know if people use mutual funds in their portfolio, but two mutual funds that I'm very familiar with that are usually like my go-to. They're pretty common in a lot of 401ks as well. If you look at like the Fidelity International Index Fund, has positive return this year. And then if
Mm-hmm.
you look at another good popular one is the American Funds Euro Pacific Growth Fund, one of my
Mm.
favorite international funds, also
Up also.
positive.
Yep. Yep. Which is
So
crazy. That's actually interesting, man. That around the globe, it seems like everybody's economy is growing. Now, does that make sense though? Because I feel like after COVID, we're gonna recover a lot faster than everybody,
correct, we did. You're absolutely right.
right?
Absolutely right.
And
Yeah.
everybody was kind of still kind of catch up. So now
hmm
I feel like we are sliding back and everybody's catching up.
If I'm not mistaken, I think the UK or the ECB, which is kind of like the European Fed, I think they're actually cutting rates. So that's
Yep.
probably helping them. Right now, we're holding rates. So
Right.
that is, I wouldn't say it's not helping us, but it's not as stimulating to the economy as it would be in Europe. China's going to do what China, whatever the heck China wants to do.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that they would be up 23% with all of the tariff announcements that have been going on. Like people are still really bullish on China,
China.
which is a little, I'm not saying it's fishy, but I'm just a little bit surprised. I'm not saying that China them being positive is a bad thing, or I'm surprised that they're positive. I'm surprised that they're 23% positive in the first quarter of the year. So that's something that I did not expect. So again, this just goes back to if you're ever building a long-term portfolio, I always tell people there's three sectors that you always want to have in your portfolio, at least from my perspective. You want to
Mm-hmm.
have large caps, US domesticated large caps, and you can probably do that with like an S&P 500 fund. You want to have international exposure. So either broad international, developed international, emerging markets, you want to have that exposure. And then you want to
Yep.
have some small caps. To
Yep.
me, those three are the three asset classes at the very minimum you want to have exposure to in a long-term portfolio like your 401k or an IRA or something like that. So that's going to help you from a risk diversification perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And in years like this, where domestic is getting hammered, sometimes the other asset classes like international will pick up some of that slack. So just want to
Yep.
put that out there.
Well, now speaking of risk though, like how do you I know we talked a little bit about hedging and stuff. Can you walk us through what you've been doing with your long-term positions and how are you hedging and making like managing risk that way?
So my long-term portfolio has a lots of stocks, growth stocks, tech stocks, and leaps. So a lot of the stuff that I have in my portfolio are very, very hyper growth. So what I've been doing, and I don't know if you're in my trading group or in my investment community, since February 23rd, I put on hedges by buying short-term puts.
Yep.
So I'll look at how much capital I have invested and I'll say, okay, I want to at least have puts for, I'd probably say anywhere between 30 to 25% of what I have invested. And as those puts are making money as the market goes down, I'm going to take those profits and reinvest them into my long-term positions.
Yep.
And I looked at where I'm at. My long-term portfolio is only down about 18, 19% in all of this
Crazy.
mess, which
Crazy.
to me isn't that bad. So, if you ever want to hedge a portfolio, to me, there's two ways you can do it. You can buy short-term puts of the positions you already have.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you have stocks or whether you have long-term positions like leaps, or you can sell calls against your position. It's another way to do it. But in order to sell calls, you need to have margin. And if you don't
Yep.
have margin, you can't do it. So to me, the cheaper way to do it is to buy short-term puts, usually out of the money. So you save a little bit of money. So when there's extreme days where the market gets hammered, those puts will be up 200, 300%, which will
Right.
buffer some of the losses that you might have on the call side. So that's what I've been doing since the 23rd. And yeah, I had to sell some today because obviously the market was up, so the puts were down. So I got out of most of them today, and then we'll reassess next week.
Yeah. And then you can take some of that and buy, put more money into your long term because at that
Correct.
point they're probably down a little bit. Now you can buy it more for cheaper. So you can
Yeah,
keep averaging down. So yeah.
exactly. So that hasn't been a bad strategy so far. So I have to keep doing that until the market shows me that it's ready to turn around, and I have conviction behind that turnaround because I'm not really getting to it. I mean, I'll be honest. Today was a good day, but I want your opinion on what you think about today's rally because we saw this two Fridays ago,
Yep.
and then we saw this last week. So I
Yep.
want you to give me your perspective on that.
Well, let's talk about the sectors first. So SLK, which is the technology sector, was up by like 2.94% today, right? XLF also was up by 2.32%. XLY was up 2.12%. And other sectors like XLI, XLE, XLB, XLRE, the health, XLV, all of those saw kind of like positive momentum, like moving up today. Like, it seemed like everything was just like doing good today. But the one thing that I noticed is even though we close high, we still close at a loss for the week. Do you know what I mean? Like we still close like fourth week of down. So it's like for me, it's like, I don't know if we are able to maintain that, right? I don't know if we can maintain that going into next week. It seems like we lost Wale, but I don't know if we can maintain that going into next week because I feel like we are still in a place where rallies are here, but ultimately they are going to fade. You know what I mean? So I think even though we saw this rally today, I feel like we're still gonna. It wasn't sustainable for me. Like if you look at a lot of movement that we have today, it wasn't. It didn't give me enough confidence to be like, hey, we're gonna see a ultimate reversal going into next week, right? And I know we have some economic stuff coming up next week too. So like on top of all of that, and I feel like we talked about this last week. I was like, we're probably gonna see higher movement going into Jerome Powell's conversation, and then
Mm.
when that date comes, we're probably gonna see consolidation until he talks, and after he talks, we might see some sell off, right? And as you can see, today we moved up. Monday we might be moving up. Tuesday we might be moving up. But come Wednesday, we're going to see a lot of consolidation going into that. Jerome Powell talking at 2 p.m. Eastern.
And
So,
that's gonna be a big meeting because
yep.
again, it's not whether the Fed is going to cut or not going to cut. I don't think that that's going to be the big topic. It's going to be what are they seeing in the economy?
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to address the Q1 negative GDP? And then two, is their tone going to be dovish or hawkish? Because to me,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm thinking is they're not going to be in a rush to want to cut rates.
Yep.
Because again, the biggest mistake they can make is cutting rates, and then once the tariff data starts to flow in, if that proves to be inflationary, and then they have to raise rates,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot afford to do that. Like that is a you cannot afford to do that. So that will be interesting to see whether or not they are dovish or hawkish. So that to me will be an interesting take. And again, I really hope someone asks him about their negative GDP
Yeah.
forecast for first
Yeah.
quarter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and see
That
what he has to say about that.
right. But we have seen like signs of like economic slowdown, right? So it's like, does that go in? Would that impact their decisions now to maybe cut more rates this year? Or I mean, maybe instead of maybe like doing 1 or 2, they might go to 3. I don't know.
Mm,
Like, would you think they will probably like, okay, we're seeing some slowdowns, and I guess that's probably like the hawkish thing, right? Like, hey, we're seeing some slowdown. We're gonna add 3 more rate cut this year as opposed to 1 or 2.
yeah, people kind of have confidence or have some kind of confidence that if it gets too bad, right? Let's say the economy starts to show cracks in the armor and things look like they could be going to where, that the Fed will intervene, just like they did during COVID.
Right.
Where if the Fed didn't cut rates to zero, there's no way we're getting out of that mess as
Yep.
quickly as we did. So
Yep.
people have that sort of confidence that the Fed will intervene from things getting too ugly.
Right.
So the question is, how ugly does it get before they do?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
what we don't know. Like,
Right.
what is the Fed's threshold? Is it like 4.5% unemployment? Is it, you know, one full quarter of negative GDP? Like we don't know what their threshold will be.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you know that they have been very animate about not letting 1 or 2 months of data dictate the long-term trajectory. Because again, they're looking at long term. So I don't know if you remember, a couple, years ago when Jerome laid the smackdown at Jackson Hole and was like, yeah, expect some pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, they might be like, you know what, 1 month or 2 months of pain isn't going to really change our trajectory. We can absorb that. We'll see how the economy reacts.
Right.
We could be in for something like that. So I'm on the in the camp of they're going to be waiting and seeing, but I'm also very curious to think that I'm curious to see how much they feel things are contracting.
Mhm.
So
I mean, that I think that'll be interesting though, because the more I think about it, the tariffs really hasn't taken effect, so we haven't seen
no,
the
we don't know.
full
We don't know.
impact.
We don't
Right,
know.
we haven't seen the full impact of that, and maybe that's probably what the Feds are waiting for. Is like, hey, tariff really hasn't taken effect. Maybe we should wait until the second quarter and all that stuff to see exactly how that's going to affect the economy, right? So
Exactly. They don't want to be.
even though we're seeing a slowdown right now, the tariff might accelerate it. It might even go a
Hmm.
lot faster. And then okay, now we can cut rates because it's like
Yeah.
it's slowing down everything down.
And I think one person was saying this week that the reason why GDP was negative in the first quarter was because imports accelerated. I think you might have mentioned that
Yeah.
a couple months ago or a couple shows ago, where people were like, "All right, we know tariffs are coming. We're going to just import a ton of stuff before we get smacked with the
Tariffs.
tariff policy." So
Yep.
that's another driving point of why GDP projections might have been negative because those import numbers were inflated. So that could be a possibility. But one thing I keep trying to tell people is that if you really want to know when things will get ugly or if they will get ugly, the bond market is a better signal than the
Yep.
stock market.
Yep. Yep.
And one of
Yep.
the biggest things that I will say about that, not only is the bond market bigger than the stock market, you have to also understand that retail money in the bond market, very minimal.
Mhm.
Retail people do not have impact whatsoever in the bond market. They don't move the needle.
Yeah.
Institutional money is what moves.
Move. Yep.
And because there's so much institutional money moving in the bond market, that will give you a better signal of what could happen. And again, I've been looking at the data. The bond market is not showing any signs of panic.
Yeah.
So I can't
We
sit
actually
here and say,
we
oh,
actually closed higher today. We closed at 4.3 today,
okay.
4.3% in
Yeah.
10 year at
So,
least. Yeah.
yeah. So, the bond market will be a better predictor of what will happen as far as risk. I would call it the risk premium or call it what type of risk is in the market.
Hmm.
Once you start to see signals in the bond market where things are getting ugly, then that's when I would be worried. But right now, I can't call this, I can't sit here and say, oh, we're going to go into a recession. I can't sit here and say that, oh, we're going to be in a prolonged bear market right now. I think
Right.
right now we're in a correction for sure. But at the same time, a lot of trough and a lot of, you know, excessive buying had to have been sucked out of the market because again, we had stocks like Planetary that were up like what 100% in 3 months. App
Yeah.
11 was
Back
up
to
like
back to back, which is
yeah.
crazy,
So
you know?
there was a lot of stocks that were a little bit frothy. So
Yeah.
at some point you need to readjust and come back to the mean. So we'll just
Yep.
have to wait and see now if this rally we saw Friday is the start of something positive or we get another bloody Monday like we had the last two Mondays.
That's crazy, man. You never know. You never know. The other thing that's probably we're keeping an eye on is the retail sales, right? So retail
Mm,
sale was, I mean, it was down last month, I think. So what is expectation for that? Is that gonna, you know, because we're gonna get the February numbers, not the March numbers. So is that gonna go up? Is that gonna go down? We don't know, right? So is that a market mover number now that we are with tariffs and all these different things? Is that gonna cause the market to kind of rattle a little bit?
yeah. And I'll say this as well to understand this. The stock market is not a gauge of the economy.
Right.
It's not. Um, you know, there are many other factors that you need to look at when you're looking at the quote unquote economy. Now, you're seeing slight uptick in unemployment. You're
Yep.
seeing consumer spending slow down, right? Jobless claims uptick there, here and there. Also, another thing that I keep hearing about is the default rate on credit cards, the
Yep.
delinquency rate, and
Yep.
also on car loans.
Yep.
So, and to me, that's probably happening more so on the lower tier of the income scale for a lot of people.
Facts. Yep.
So if that continues to accelerate, then to me that we could see some problems. But for now, we're still in the early stages of looking at that data right now. So I
Mm-hmm.
can't sit here and say that, okay, now it's time to panic or anything like that. No.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, like we talked about this last year too. Like, those are the things you look for in employment. You look at, those numbers and see what is going up, what is going down. And speaking of unemployment, it looks like a lot of the federal government employees that got fired last week, actually, some of them are brought back. They're actually bringing them back because the judge ruled that it was illegal and unconstitutional for them to get fired like that. And I didn't know that they only fired people that got hired within the last year. So
Mm,
So if you, because they consider that you're still in probation, basically. So
okay.
if you're still in probation at the time, they fired all of them people. So my sister was one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she got her doctorate and she was working for the EPA.
Okay.
And yeah, literally she started in January. And then in the beginning of March, they're like, I didn't have a job. I was like, I'm sorry.
Dang.
Her and her
Yeah.
husband, man, they both were working for government agencies and stuff. I'm like, that's crazy.
And the thing that's crazy to me is like I keep going back to this. What was the thought process on deciding who to fire?
No,
Because
there was no
it
thought
looked like
process.
it looked like, all right, we're gonna fire people. It's like, shoot first, ask questions later.
Pretty much, pretty much. That's
So
pretty much what happened.
so now we have to sit here and think about, okay, well, if all of these people are coming back, do the unemployment numbers adjust to that or what?
Exactly, exactly. And that's what I was going with. I was like, so they haven't filed official, they haven't filed any unemployment, right?
Okay.
Because technically they still have some money left over from the last previous paycheck.
Hmm.
But now that they're going back to work, those numbers significantly going to affect unemployment, right? So do we see unemployment going down, or I mean, those numbers were accounted in there? Like, I don't think
Hmm.
they were accounted in there, right? Because I don't think those numbers made it to the record yet because they were still going to courts and all that stuff. So
We got a question in
um,
the chat box. Ask Dr. Pratt, is she going back to work? Is she going back to work?
I,
Did she
I
reinstate
don't
it?
know. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know. I know they sent two letters, right? So one for they included like some agencies
Hmm.
last week, and then this week they sent another letter allowing some agencies to come back. So I mean, we don't know if it's even gonna happen, right? Because you gotta wait for the agency to call you to go back to the office if you still want to go back. So
Mm.
yeah, unlike some other federal agencies, right? So some of them were offered like a buyout, right? I don't even know if people got paid as buyout, but some people will offer buyout to like September, right? I don't know. Surprisingly, a lot of people, I guess, a lot of people sign up for that buyout. You get paid all the way to September, and you can do whatever you want to do in the meantime. So it's like a lot of people took that, but I don't know if anybody got paid for that. So yeah, so they're still waiting for a call back to basically go back to work. So even though
Gotcha.
the judge lifted the sanctions or whatever they put in place for them not to go in the office, they still got to wait to be called back.
I also heard that the government is about to start selling a bunch of government-owned property that is not being used. Like they're
Interesting.
about to go on like a selling spree. And I don't know if they have the data on like how much they spent on those properties and like how much they're going for. But we've been talking about commercial real estate being sold in major cities selling for pennies on the dollar.
Mhm.
I wonder if they're going to take losses on some of these properties. Some of them might be old though. So some of them might be
Yeah.
old, but I heard in the DC area, they are looking to start to pretty much fire sale a bunch of properties that are underutilized or maybe not even being used at all.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So
Oh, yes. They said the Trump administration on Tuesday published a list of more than 440 federal properties that
400.
and 40 properties they had identified potentially offload, including an FBI headquarters in the main Department of Justice building, after deeming them not core to government operation.
Sheesh.
But then hours later, they revised the list, and now it's down to 320. That's still a
That's
lot
still
of
a lot of
buildings.
that's still a lot of properties.
Yeah. So that I mean, if it's an ABA headquarters, I'm talking about they're probably like massive buildings.
No, these are not small buildings. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are not small buildings.
Interesting. Okay.
So
Some
I
some
wonder
some some courthouses are on here too.
oh really?
Yeah.
So
That's
that's gonna
crazy.
that's gonna flood the market with supply.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if commercial prices start to come down because I don't know how federal buildings affect commercial real estate. That I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um it'll be interesting to see what they do with those properties though, because 300 and what 20? That's a lot.
Yep. Yep.
That
Yep.
is a lot. So yeah, that's something to look out for. I've been every week, every weekend, I've been going doing my, scouring the commercial real estate market, looking for, are there any more fire sales or buildings that are going for like pennies on the dollar? Because the ones that we discussed, late, I think it was either late 2024, 2025, man, you talk about massive losses on those
Massive.
properties.
Massive.
So we'll have to see what happens to the commercial real estate market.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we've been talking about that for a while, but it's like I don't know what's going to be the catalyst to actually like bring more light to that. I don't know. I mean, maybe one of those short companies might come up like, hey, we're shorting an entire, company. I don't know. They can create their own short portfolio somewhere and short, a
Yeah, because
specific
I know
company.
I
So
know on the hedge fund side and some of the bigger institutional sides, you can short. a pool of mortgages.
Yep.
Like you can do that.
You can create your own, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can.
And sell it to other people too if you want to.
Mhm. Yeah,
Go
you
watch
can.
the what is that?
The
What
Big
is that?
Short.
The Big
The
Short. Go
Big
watch the
Short.
Big Short if you
So
want to know what
I
I'm
don't know
talking
if
about.
retail people can do that, but that is
No.
something. Like I said, that's just something that I've been keeping an eye on, just to be in the know. But I keep saying if we see some sort of like economic like like correction, like catastrophic, to me the catalyst will be something that went wrong in the commercial real estate
Yeah.
environment. That is, if I am a betting man, that's where I would put my money on.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would be the catalyst behind it. But for now, I can't really point to any signals that that could be coming down the pipeline, at least for right now.
No, no. Speaking of that, let's pivot to Tesla. Tesla have seen a run up today. I mean, they did some numbers today. They moved pretty high today. Um, Elon Musk finally somebody finally complained. Somebody finally complained, like, dude, you can't be working for the government and start getting all these contracts. You know what I mean? You guys go look at the Starlink contract. This dude is getting Starlink contracts left and right from the government. You know what I mean? As a government employee, and he's considered government employee because that's what they said. He's a government employee. So, but yeah, somebody was complaining about that is a conflict of interest that he is a government employee, but yet his company is getting all these contracts from the government for Starlink. And I think there were some talks about um, the um, the Tesla vehicle being used in the military.
Oh
Because
yeah, the Cybertruck. Yeah,
the Cybertruck being used potentially for military operation stuff because they are durable and they made out of like anti-bomb whatever thing they have. But yeah, that's another conflict of interest. I mean, on top of that, add the rocket company they have. On top of that, like it's they're doing deals with NASA. And NASA, I believe NASA is a government company, right?
I
So
think they're a government entity. Yeah,
yeah, so they're doing businesses with that, they're dealing with all of that stuff. So it's like, how do you remove Musk from all of those things? And we talked about this before. It's like, yes, he might be, stepping away from the day-to-day operation from the companies that he runs, but we can see he's still very well active in all those companies. So how do you manage that? I don't know. But how does that impact the Tesla stock, right? Because like I seen some puts that putting Tesla down to like 190 something. You know what I mean? So
I saw J.P. Morgan came out with a price target of 120.
yep. You're cutting off Wale, but yeah, that's
So
I
I don't
see those
know.
numbers too.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. I still think they'll figure it out. I just don't know how bad it will get before they do.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah,
think what people are saying is that his reputation is sort of going to hurt sales. And they're projecting lower deliveries and things like that right now because of what's going on with the stock.
yeah,
So I've seen Elon Musk in worse situations in the past, and he's gotten past it. So I'm not going to sit here and count the man out. But 120 price target is a pretty that's a pretty nice haircut on the stock, trading
yeah.
at what 240, basically 250. Talking about a 50% haircut, yeah, that would be bad. But I also keep hearing people saying that he's not a government employee. He's like a consultant, right? Like a third party consultant. And it's funny that again, FAA, Starlink is going to start using their technology and they want to get a contract
Mm-hmm,
with them.
mm-hmm.
Um, the Cybertruck with the military getting contracts there as well. So I don't know, man. I mean, people are saying that Elon was the one that bankrolled Trump's campaign. So like,
Yep. I mean, he was.
Trump is paying doing him a favor. I
I
don't know.
mean, my man was shelling out $50 million a week. That's some crazy numbers. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot of
Yeah.
money.
So they're saying that because he bankrolled, because again, Trump didn't really spend that much money. He didn't raise that much money for his campaign
No.
compared to his opponent, and he still won handedly. And they're saying that yeah, because of that, they're saying like yeah, Elon is now getting some kickbacks based on that based on that activity. So
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so let's pivot to Intel a little bit. I know they just announced a new CEO, but TCMC seems to want to work with them. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like for them to want to, be part of Intel's basically foundry, like be able to actually own a percentage of their company.
so one of the things that I'm trying to think of is this motivated so that Trump goes easy on them as far as tariffs?
Mm.
Is that the motivation?
Ooh, that is a good play.
Is that the motivation?
That is a good play.
TSMC is saying, "Hey, we've got factories in the U.S.
Yeah.
We're helping Intel. Let's ease up
Let's chill out. Yeah.
let's chill out a little bit. It could be a peace offering. You see
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I could see it.
I
I
could see
really,
that.
yeah. Yep.
So, you know, the whole mantra about build America, and they're going to be like, hey, we're building a plant in Arizona. We're
Yeah.
creating jobs in America. So I think that might be a piece off because remember back
Mm.
in his first campaign, Apple was able to get some buffer from their
Yep.
tariff policy because Tim
Yep.
Cook went to the White House and was like, "Hey, homie, you got to chill a little bit over here." So maybe TSMC is actually doing that with their plant and then partnering with Intel. Also think that Intel can get they need all the help they can get at this point. So if
Right,
I'm
right.
Intel, I'm not turning down any help from TSMC. I mean from TSMC. So
Mm.
I don't know.
That's actually a good that's a good theory. Like
Yeah.
if
I
that's what they're
think
trying to pull, that's a good theory, man.
yeah, I'm thinking that they're trying to get some get the tariff bug off their back a little bit because if you go back to when Trump was talking about um I think the whole AI, what was the name
Mm-hmm.
of that whole AI like thing with like SoftBank and all them people? He was talking about how TSMC was stealing chips and stealing production from American
Yep.
companies.
Yep.
Like he mentioned them personally. So
Mm-hmm.
they might be like, all right, man, we need to, keep the orange man happy. So let's help Intel out because I think from a US domestic company, Intel's probably one of the bigger chip makers in the US, if not the biggest. I'm not sure AMD. I don't know. Does AMD build chips or are they just also designers? Forget. I'm not
They
sure.
design also. I
Oh,
think
just designers.
that's what was getting them down because they design, they build, and they manufacture too. So it's like they were doing all of
Mm,
those different things.
gotcha. Okay. Yeah, but I like Intel. I'm still a believer in Intel, but one of the things I will say, at least if we just look at the technical aspects of where the market is,
Mm-hmm.
um, any type of rally under the 200 EMA or SMA, you just got to take it with a grain of salt. You just have to be very cautious. And even with today's rally, we didn't take out this week's high.
Right.
So that's another reason why I'm kind of like,
But
I'm
that's
not.
what I mean. Like we still closed the week in red. If you think about it, we didn't really
Mhm,
go anywhere.
mhm.
So yeah.
And if we look at the technicals, one, two, three, 4 straight weeks of lower lows and lower highs.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a critical level. So I'm going to give you some levels to mark for SPY just based on weekly charts that I'm looking at. So the first level I'm looking at as a critical level before I can gain any sort of confidence in this rally is 576. That's a critical level I'd be looking at on SPY. Another critical level I'm going to give you on QQQ before I can buy anything with this rally. 481.40
Mm-hmm.
is my first level, and then 490.45. So those are going to be levels that if the bears are able to defend it, we're in trouble. If the bulls are able to blast through it, I would have a little bit more confidence that we start to hit higher. So, and then I'm not even going to give a IWM levels right now because I
we
don't even
we
know.
we don't know where they're going right now.
I don't know where IWM is going right now. Um, I think. I did mark four. I did mark 190, 134 as like a crucial level.
Yep.
Um, and then also 196.70. We almost got there this week, but we didn't.
Yeah, we
But
got we got bought out like that 197. He got bought up right away. So
yeah. So and then the RSP actually wicked off of a critical level. So one,
twice. It's
yeah. So
crazy.
169 was a level that I marked on my chart for this week. And if you go to the weekly chart and look at RSP, look at the week of September 9th,
Mhm.
2024. You see, we wicked off that same level before we started to move higher.
Yep, same
So
exact one.
yeah. So there are still buyers at that level. So if we start moving lower, we lose those levels,
Mhm.
then that's when I start getting nervous. But until then, um, the correction is the correction. But I'm not here to call. I'm not here to to pronounce doom and gloom yet.
Right, right, right. We're definitely sitting at a critical level at IWM. If we lose this,
Yeah.
even RSP, yeah, RSP bouncing from that level was good.
Yes. But we always have that question: will it hold? It held
Will
this
it
week, but
hold?
will it hold?
Yes. We might come crashing through that like crazy. But those are very, very important level to look at. There's a
Hmm.
very, very important level to look at.
Yeah. So
Uh
if you're a trader or if you're looking from a technical standpoint, those would be levels that I would have marked on my charts to say, okay, you know, do I have enough confidence that we'll eventually start to rally or figure it out? So,
how about our friend Apple? What do you think about Apple? Because
man,
Apple, the
Apple,
way when Apple drops, it just drags the whole market with it. It's crazy.
Apple, man, I'll be honest. I don't like how it's trading. It has broke a very critical level,
Mhm.
and I'll be 100% honest. I would not be surprised if Apple drops to 200.
Yep.
That would
Yep.
not surprise me. I would not be surprised if Apple drops to 200. Um, because this week's drop, I mean, the one level I thought would hold would be 516.70. We got through that, traded all the way through that. The area that I see it trading back to is the area where, let's just say that the market continues to be bearish. The area where it kind of bounced during that August 5th drop. So that's between 200 and 190, 202, yeah, call it 200 and 195.
Mm.
So, I've been saying it for months. I just don't think Apple deserves the multiple. I'm hearing that they're rolling back some of their AI initiatives,
Mm.
which was supposed to be the next catalyst to kind of boost sales and innovation. Now they're pushing it all back. Why would I want to buy Apple at
And
this
that
point?
freaking release of like a phone that still pissed me off, man. I was like, "Yo, are you serious, Tim? You should have let one of your associate announce that." Like,
Yeah, or just tweeted it.
no, the fact that he tweeted it was like,
Oh, he tweeted from his personal
yeah, he
account.
tweeted and said, "Hey, something new is coming," and I was like, so everybody got excited, like, "Oh, the CEO said something new, so this must be exciting." I wish I can send him an email, like, dude,
Yeah,
next time if it's a phone or we're tired. What does that
yeah.
meme say? We are tired. We're tired of the phones and the computers. We know it works. Everybody uses it. We know. Like, find something else, bro. Like, I don't know, man. I wish
Yeah.
I wish what's his name? Steve Jobs would have left him like a notebook or something, all the inventions that he was thinking.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm,
I
I'm
mean,
about to
I'll say this. I mean, again, Apple there's been a lot of misses on
yeah,
the innovation front. I
yep.
mean, like the whole Vision Pro has been a miss. The whole self-driving car thing, they had to scrap that whole division.
The whole thing. Millions of dollars just gone.
So I don't know where the innovation is going to come from Apple. Is it going to come through acquisition? Is it going to come through like where is it going to come from?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. So,
They mess
uh,
around. It might be like Intel, what Intel is dealing with right now, or um, IBM missed out on the AI back in the day. Like, you know what I mean?
hmm
They
yeah.
might mess around and find themselves in a really, really hot water.
Another thing I'll be on the lookout for as we get into the end of the first quarter of the year is when the hedge funds and the big money managers start to report in the quarter what they did with their money.
Yeah.
I wonder if Buffett's cash pile has gone up or has gone
Uh,
down.
I can't wait for those. Like, I
Yeah,
really can't wait for those.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what he has done with all of that cash. Like, did he make any purchases during this drop? And I am positive that once they announce if he bought anything,
Yeah.
the market might rally.
We might really rally like crazy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
if
I
they
wish
say,
I wish we
"Oh,
could take a look at it before then, like to see if he actually bought anything. So, but he has been quiet. The fact that
yeah,
he's
he's
been
been
quiet
quiet.
kind
He's
of
been
worries
quiet.
me.
Yeah,
It
he's been
worries me a
quiet.
lot. It
He's been
worries me a
quiet."
lot. Either he's buying and not telling anybody, or he's strategically not saying anything because he doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, I wish you could try. I wish they had to report those things like monthly.
Yeah,
That would be wonderful, but they only report quarterly. So,
and you know why? Because by the time we find out about it, it's too late. They already bought all cheap prices and stuff. So
yeah. So,
yeah,
yeah, I want to see, does he deploy any of that, what, over $300 billion
I don't even know where he's storing
in
that money. That's the
cash?
thing. Like, what do you
So
keep that?
he owns treasuries. So he owns treasuries directly. So he
That's
is a
crazy.
huge buyer. Like, there's no way he's got that in like a savings or a bank account. He basically just buys. I'm pretty sure he's buying like short term, either like 2 week or 4 week treasuries, and then
Yeah.
just rolling them every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, collecting the interest. I actually want to do the math on that real quick.
So my man's still making money. Like he's still
Like
making money.
let's do the math on that. So assuming Warren Buffett owns, let's just say 300, I think it was $330 billion in treasuries. So that's 300. So that's what, nine zeros? Yeah. $300 billion in treasuries. Let's just say he's earning a flat 4% annually. He is making roughly 13, $13.2 billion in
That
interest
is
a
crazy.
year. You divide that by 12, he is making $1.1 billion in interest a month.
That's crazy. So let me tell you the numbers in 2024, right? So as of second quarter 2024, um, Warren Buffett's Hathaway held approximately 234.6 billion in short-term U.S. Treasury bill.
Jesus.
Right, this substantial investment exceeded the 195 billion in Treasury bills held by Federal Reserve. This man owns more bills than the Federal Reserve. That's crazy. Yo, this is nuts. This
Can you
is
can you imagine
nuts.
what would happen to the treasury market if he just sold everything all at once?
This is nuts. So by the end of 2024, these holdings has grown to a record. Because you said an average what 90 billion. That's what your number was calculated on.
You said what?
The number you calculated on, was that on 90 billion or what?
I calculated that number on 330 billion.
Okay, he actually
So
he actually has 320 billion,
okay, so
which I
320
mean, it's still a lot
so
of money.
320 billion dollars in treasuries, right?
Uh-huh.
So one, two, three, okay. Times, let's just say he's earning 4%.
Well, actually, no, I'm wrong. But at the end of March, it was 334 billion. Yeah,
Okay,
so you're right.
334. So
Mm-hmm.
334. Yeah,
Yep.
so a billion a month in interest.
Oh man,
That is wild. That's wild. So my question is, what are you gonna do with all of this cash?
that's insane, dude.
What are
That
you
is
gonna do?
insane. That is insane.
So to me, I will be really interested when they file and they start releasing what they've done for first quarter of 2025. I want to see where that money went. If that cash pile went higher,
Mm, yeah, we know he ain't buying nothing right now. I wonder if
so
there's a way to figure that out without having to like wait for those numbers, man. Because
you probably got to be an insider on
dang
the
it, man.
on the Berkshire Hathaway
I'm about to,
board, on the board.
We gotta make some calls.
we
we
gotta
gotta we
we
gotta
gotta
find
we gotta get to Omaha.
we gotta find out. Let's go buy him a breakfast. I heard he's at McDonald's and stuff. Let's go to McDonald's and go eat with him
Yeah,
because
go
this is
pick his
crazy,
brain.
man.
So
Uh,
one thing I'll say this though, I don't know if he's buying airlines again because remember Delta came out and they said that their guidance moving into the year is going to be lower, so they're a little
yep.
bit iffy. Like, what would he be buying in this market? What is he seeing? He doesn't buy gold. Gold actually hit 3,000 an
Yeah.
ounce for the first time ever,
Yep.
which is
All time
wild.
high. All time high.
Um, so gold can't put that.
Man.
I can't put that in the cards that he would be buying. He doesn't really
No.
buy high growth tech companies.
Nope.
So what would he be buying? I
That's
wonder if he
the
I wonder if he
that's
bought in I wonder if he bought Intel.
you never know. I mean, he likes companies with solid. So I don't know if Intel will be his thing though. Maybe because he does his whole value investment thing. So
Yeah, value investor. Value investor. You know,
so
don't ever pay full price for anything. So yeah, we'll see. We shall
that's
see.
gonna be interesting, man. The other thing, maybe we can look at like his older holdings too, like the ones that he sold, and see where these are today, and maybe
Mm,
some of those would actually be part of the
maybe
ones that he
making some
buys it back.
reentries. Yeah,
Yep,
making some reentries
yep,
possibly.
yep. Oh man, that would
I'll
be a
yeah,
clutch right there.
yeah. I'll say this though. The one thing that I will take as encouraging from today's rally, and someone in the investment community pointed something out that I will want to highlight is that today's rally was based on low volume. There was not a
Yes.
lot of volume today, which
Yep.
is unusual. Now, the VIX closed below 22, which was an area of support that held a few
I
times in
was just about
previous
to say that.
trading
Yes.
sessions.
Yep.
So if we start to lose 22, we could head back down to 20. And if we start heading below 20, that would give me a little bit more confidence that this rally could have some legs. But again, I can't pass any judgment until we get past Jerome Powell next week, Wednesday.
Yep. Yep.
Because again, that can flip it. Things can flip in either direction on that day. So I don't want to take one day of bullishness as a sign of
As a sign. Yeah. Yeah.
because I did that 2 Fridays ago and Palo Alto Networks, you know what?
Oh man. And plus, like we talked about earlier, we didn't hear any conversation about tariffs today until
Nope.
after the market closed. You know what I mean?
After the market
So
close. Yeah.
I think the way the VIX closed today, the fact that we bounce off of that level,
Hmm.
like it has me thinking like, we might actually be going higher after this.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because that's a very important level right that it kind of hit and just jumped out of there. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of the market. You never know
Yeah.
until the day it happens.
And I am not in the business of making predictions.
No.
I will make educated assessments.
we follow the trend.
Yeah, but you got to follow the trend. I always tell people, trade based on what you see,
Yep.
not based on what you want to happen, because the
Yep.
market doesn't care.
It does not care. It does not
Yeah.
care.
So if we can get past Powell and the market responds positively, that will give me a little bit more confidence that we have legs. So,
Yep. Yep.
but you also have to understand that at any given moment in time, a tweet
Something.
or a headline
Something.
can change the trajectory of the entire market. So
Yep.
take it with a grain of salt. You got to do that Drewski meme. You got so take that with a grain of salt because that's what we've seen,
Yep.
and those are things you cannot prepare for. There's no strategy that will prepare you for headline risk. There's
You
none.
can't. You can't. There's no way because you could be sitting in a trade happy and stuff, and the next thing it turns on you because somebody said something or
Yep.
some tweet came around. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah, you definitely got to take a grain of salt. Okay, so looking at the week ahead, we have March 17th, February retail sales coming out. So
Hmm.
we're gonna keep an eye on that. March 18th, the housing starts and building permits in February industrial production. So we're gonna see those numbers come out. I don't know how that's going to drive the market. We don't know.
So I'll say this, that's also a leading indicator. Housing
Mm,
starts is a leading indicator.
that's true.
So is that data shows that things are slowing down, just know that's a sign that the economy is slowing. So
Yep.
keep that
Yep.
in your back pocket. Yep.
Yep. March 19, FOMC rate decision and expected earnings from General Mills. Also, General Mills is announcing earnings that day. March 19th, keep an eye on that day. Like, just I'm telling y'all, every time Jerome speaks, the market is in high volatility. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So just keep an eye on that day. March 20th, February existing home sales, February leading indicators and expected earnings from FedEx, Leonard, Nike, and Micron also reporting on the 20th. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so we have federal existing home sales and then a bunch of stock that's actually going to report in that day.
Gotcha.
And finally, March 21st, there's no major earnings or data expected. So yeah, Friday, nothing's happening on next Friday. But yeah,
And then jobless claims every Thursday.
every
That's just
Thursday.
something that
Yep.
I will also just keep an eye on as well. Another one that's on my list, um, they have a 10-year treasury auction
Mm.
on the 20th, Thursday. Um, I would like to see if there is excessive buying of treasuries
Mm-hmm.
because if there is, that could mean that people are looking for safety in this market.
Mm.
So I have that on my list of of events to keep an eye on, and then get the data on how that auction goes. Is it a good auction? Is it a bad auction? And all that stuff. So
Wait, what day is that?
that's the 20th of March.
The 20th. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a treasury auction on that day.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, 10 year. They're selling they're auctioning 10 year. So and I think that starts at 10 a.m. Pacific.
Well, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, so I think, like I said, the same mantra as we've been talking about every single week. If you're looking to enter into this market, be very cautious and also put yourself in a position to be able to buy if it
Mhm.
still keeps going down.
Mhm.
So, because I'm not in the camp to sit here and say that today's rally tells us that we're out of the woods. No,
Right. Right.
I can't say that with confidence yet. So, we'll probably hopefully get some more clarity on Wednesday. We'll reassess, but anything under the 200-day moving average. Now, Nvidia did reclaim a critical level today, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Nvidia closed above the 200 EMA but has a ways to go before it reclaims the 200 SMA. But it's made a pretty good move from
Yep.
104 to about 120.
Yep. Yep.
So that's not
I did see some short term Nvidia calls coming today. So I
okay.
think that's probably why it was moving up a little bit too. So
Okay. So at least for the near term, Nvidia is somewhat bullish. Um, but again, any rally under the 200 AMA can stall out like that.
facts.
So just be
Facts.
be cautious.
Right. And then we are officially in correction territory, right? Because we dropped below, was it 9% or 10%?
10%, 10%. Yep. Yeah.
So, but compared to same time last year, we were down 34%, guys. Like that was crazy numbers. I mean, not last year, in 2020. 2020,
Oh, 2020, 2020.
we were down like 34%.
Yeah.
That's crazy number. I mean, we're nowhere near that, right? So,
Yeah.
but by the end of 2020, you see how we recovered like crazy because
Yeah.
everybody bought everything. Everything
And
was
I,
on sale.
and I will say this. I will say this. I will say that if things get ugly,
Mm-hmm.
Jerome is not going to stand there and not do anything.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure he will give the market some sort of confidence that, okay, we have a threshold. I don't know what that threshold is,
Yep.
but we have a threshold that if things get to X, we'll step in and start cutting rates. So
Here's a crazy idea. What if Monday and Tuesday we just have the ugliest drop ever? What is Jerome going to do?
On
Is he gonna
Wednesday?
cut? Yeah. Let's say the market dropped by another 5 to 10% on. I mean, it probably won't, but it's a tall order. But let's say he did by Wednesday. Do you think Jerome will cut rate, or he'd be like, let's
No,
wait for another? He's not
no.
gonna cut it.
I don't think he's gonna cut it. I
That's
don't think he's gonna cut
crazy.
it. I don't. Because like I said, this is the situation that he's gonna put himself in. I think we talked about this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say he cuts. He says we need to cut. We start getting data that starts including tariffs.
Mm.
Inflation starts moving higher. They have to raise rates.
Raise rate. Yeah,
That
that's it.
just that destroys that is more detrimental
Yeah.
than maybe a few months of short-term pain.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
So now let's just say that he had data. Let's just say January, Trump comes
Mm-hmm.
in, implements all his tariffs. So we've got January data to look at, we've got February data to look
February.
at. The Fed can start assessing
Right. Right.
what the impact is on tariffs so far, and then they can have their meeting and talk about it. Right now, they don't know. So you can't assume. You don't want to be presumptuous.
Right. Right. Right.
So that I feel until they start to see the impact of tariffs, the Fed can't do anything. They're handcuffed. They're
Pretty
handcuffed.
much. Pretty much. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
how I look at it, because a cut and then a raise, that will do way more damage than just letting things play itself out, in my opinion. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We might wake up with a 20% decline on Monday.
I hope not.
I'm I'm just gonna figure about like the worst case scenario that will force the Fed to cut the rates right there and right there. You know what I mean? So the other thing that's very interesting to me is like I know when Trump was first coming into office, he was like, "We need to cut the rate, we need to cut the rates," but I haven't heard him say anything about that. Like I haven't even heard him mention cutting rates. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I don't know what's the play there. I don't know if he's is he waiting for you know Jerome to leave because I think he said he's gonna finish his
His term, yeah.
his term and he's gonna leave after that. But it's like I don't know. Yeah, that's still remain to be seen. So we shall see.
Yeah. Trump just wants to refinance all his debt.
And I think he's gonna be successful in doing that, and nobody's gonna say anything, which is crazy, But it is what it is. It's the stock market. Hey, we thank you guys for showing up today. Wale, any last advice going into next week? I know you gave a lot of tips already, but any last minute advice going into next week?
My thing is, and this is just what I'm personally doing, continue to hedge if you can. Like, I think hedging in this environment will save your long-term portfolio.
Yep.
Um, there are good from a valuation standpoint. Is it better to buy stocks now than it was a month or 2 months ago?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
The answer is yes, 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 yes. But also, could it be better to buy stocks a month from now, like if the market continues to go down?
Mm-hmm.
Could be. So again, put yourself in a position to take advantage of both, right?
Yep.
Again, don't sit here and think you're going to time the bottom. I will keep stressing that out. Isn't People will say now is a good time to buy. It's now a good time to buy. Yes, but be very strategic
Very
about,
strategic.
and I'm talking about investing. So things you want to hold long term. So if it's Apple, if it's Nvidia, if it's Tesla, or whatever it is you want to hold that you believe in the long term trajectory of that business, now is a better time, is a good time to buy compared to about a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
But you might also get opportunities that present itself if this market continues to drop. Just be prepared to take advantage of that. Because again, you liked Tesla if you liked
Aklo.
Nvidia or Oklo, or I use Nvidia as a example. If you liked Nvidia at 140, I hope you bought at 100.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hope you bought it at
Absolutely.
100.
Absolutely.
If you were asking about Oklo at 40, I hope you liked it at 24.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So again, don't let a dropping market scare you from buying. Buy,
Bye.
but be prepared to continue to buy if things don't improve. You just have
Facts.
to prepare for that. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
With that being said, man, with all these drops happening, The dip's gonna keep dipping. Just be careful. Like Wale said, just be strategic about it. Hey, and just like Denzel said, man, we want you guys here to leave here with something. You got to leave here with something. Like we
Gotta leave
don't
here with
get duped.
something.
You got to leave with something. I don't
Gotta
care.
leave here with something. Yeah. So if you're patient and strategic, you'll be in good shape.
You will
But if
leave
you're
here with something.
don't
Yes.
infuse all your capital on one day thinking that, oh yeah, we've hit the bottom. And then next thing you know, because imagine if you did that 2 Fridays ago or last Friday.
You
Yeah,
hurting right now.
you hurting. So be strategic, be strategic.
Yep.
So I would say, look at the capital you want to deploy and maybe break it up into 10% or 20% increments.
Yep.
So make 5 entries or make 10 entries gradually and then go from there. You'll be like on red days, if you want to put in $1,000 into the market, chop it up into 10 entries of $100.
Yep.
On a red day, 100. On another red day, another 100. On
Yep.
another red day, another 100. On another red day, another 100. And then do it like that. Or if you want to do
Mm-hmm.
200, whatever it is, but don't take that whole 1,000 and be like
Just throw it
in
in there.
Nvidia here. No,
Yep. Yep. Because you're gonna be
chop
waiting
that.
for a long time.
Yeah, chop that bad boy up and infuse it gradually. You'll be, like I said, you're not gonna catch the bottom, but when you average your cost over the long run, you're gonna be pretty. I
You're
think
gonna
you'll be
be
pretty satisfied.
you're gonna be good. You're gonna be good.
Yeah. So
All right, y'all. With that being said, y'all have a good weekend. We will see you guys on Wednesday. Be careful on Wednesday. We'll talk after Jerome Powell announce whatever he's announcing and see how the market moves. But yeah, have a good
I think
weekend,
what I'm gonna
y'all.
do. I think what I'm gonna do on Wednesday, I might put in a strangle or a straddle in play right before the
There
FOMC
you go.
and see if I can play both sides. So
Because you never know what direction is gonna go. So
and
yeah,
always remember on FOMC day, the first move isn't the
it's
real
not the real
move.
move.
You gotta wait till 11:30 when he start
Yep.
talking. Yeah.
Yep.